Welcome to episode 7 of Agree to Disagree podcast with Phil and Ethan, a weekly podcast on News Center, Maine. From now through Election Day, Philip Harriman, can you beat this weather or what?
This is why we put up with mud season, snow, sleet, all the rest of it.
This is why you put up with me every week, I think.
Now you're claiming responsibility for the weather?
No, I don't take responsibility, but you know that there'll be these nice days, so you can live with have to record with me for a few hours every week because you know you've had this weather. But I don't think I showed this to you. I got this mug when I was mayor. Can you read it? Let's see. Can you read that?
Yeah. Yeah.
What does that say?
Agree.
Yeah. You can go right over here. Look at that.
Disagree.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then this is the one. This is the one that you need to pay attention to right there.
Oh, you need to pay attention to it.
I know. I love this mug, my agree or disagree mug. I used to have it on the dais as mayor, and I'd hold it up at particular times. So anyway, some fun stuff. So glad you're having a good week. Should we dive in?
Yes, let's do it. So you have anything for us to discuss this week?
A little thing called the Democratic Convention. We got ranked choice voting, court ruling on that. Susan B. Anthony. Did you just yawn at the Democratic Convention?
I did, yeah. That was a yawn.
Democratic Convention. Yeah, we'll get into it. It's actually the technical things. Well, we'll talk about those when we get to it. Gideon's interns, Collins being falsely attacked, apparently in an ad. According to the Press Herald, FBI agents doctoring documents, post office controversy. We got so much more to talk about. Should be a good episode for sure.
And plus, we play a little love it, hate it, or wake me up when it's over. Schoolsy also tells us how Rob Caldwell did on his hot seat for last week's Nailed It or Failed It.
Indeed. And this week, it's your turn to get back on that hot seat. You're 4-2 on the season so far. I got 6 more doozies for you. See if you can keep yourself in the positive. All right. You feeling good? You feeling ready?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Always.
All right. You do your push-ups this morning? Get a bike ride in?
I didn't get the bike ride, but the push-ups are in the books.
All right. Good. All right. Let's dive in. Schoolsy, kick us off.
As Speaker of the House, I solemnly and sadly open the debate.
All right, Phil. President Trump put a new guy in charge of the post office. He is suggesting some cost-cutting changes that some are saying are slowing down mail delivery. At the same time, President Trump says he opposes mail-in voting, leading some to believe that these two actions are connected. Little conspiracy theories going on out there, Phil. Are they just conspiracy theories? And do you support voting by mail?
Oh my God! This is like an egg salad sandwich with a how shall I say an omelet thrown in on top of it. They're two separate issues, Ethan. First, I think even you would agree that the post office has been a financial red zone for probably more than a decade. They're not earning the customer base, which has allowed the proliferation of FedEx and UPS and others to take over the space that the post office should have owned years ago, but didn't. They're accused of making priority deliveries for Amazon, which has slowed down the mail delivered, at least to my little hovel out in Yarmouth, Maine. The mail used to be in at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Now it's not in until 6 o'clock at night or later. That's a different problem that the Postal Service needs to address. Those are operational, fundamental, logistical problems that they need as their own bureaucracy to sort out. The other part that you're trying to wrap into this conspiracy theory is about the mail-in voting. I have no problem if you want to vote by absentee ballot to call the city clerk and have one mailed to you and drop it back in the mail. I'm fine with that. But to mass mail ballots all over the country and assure that when those ballots are returned, that the person who was actually mailed to is the one who actually filled it out, that it got delivered in time to count the votes in a reasonable time frame, that is a recipe for a disaster to happen.
Look, I don't know what your resistance is to mail-in voting. We do it in Maine. 100,000 people vote absentee just in this last race alone. We're expecting 2-3 times that many people, and there's never been any issues. The only difference between absentee voting and mail-in voting is that the ballots get mailed to people without a request. That's it. 100%. The only difference is you mail it to somebody. So if your theory is correct, that means people could be calling in all the time and getting ballots mailed to them, and there'd be all kinds of shenanigans going on. But of course, that isn't the case. Our clerks do a very good job of verifying whoever sends the ballot in has to sign the ballot and make it clear, sign the envelope and make it clear that this was them and this is their ballot. So yes, we should expand absentee voting all over the country. For those states that want to do mail-in, they should. Remember, the number one state doing mail-in out there is Utah, a very Republican state who has been doing this for decades. In terms of the post office controversy, look, this is problematic. Trump has put a guy in who has no background in this, has never delivered a piece of mail in his life. He's just a big donor, and he's going in and putting all these cost-cutting measures in. The post office is not supposed to be a profitable entity. The post office is supposed to make sure that whether you're mailing something from Millinocket, Maine to Venice, California, or Portland, Oregon to Portland, Maine, it costs you 55 cents. And anybody can do it anywhere, anytime. That's the post office's job. And he's implementing changes that are slowing down the mail that you're receiving. You used to get it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Now you're getting it at nighttime. Why is that? Because of these changes.
So let's separate the two once again so that you don't keep this conspiracy theory going. There is a huge difference between a voter requesting an absentee ballot. I'm fine with that. When you mass mail, leaflet drop, carpet bomb America with ballots, and then assume that when they come back, they've been properly filled out by the registered voter, your party doesn't even agree you should have an ID to vote. How are you going to verify that something that comes back in the mail was actually filled out by Ethan Strimling and not Phil Harriman?
Because I signed it. Because I have to sign it. You don't. It's not like you don't carpet
Who's
bomb.
going to verify the signature, Ethan?
That's what they do right now. When I call in to get my absentee ballot, the clerk sends me a ballot. I have to sign the envelope. They take it back. They look, oh, that signature matches the voter registration card. That's what happens right now. The same thing. They don't carpet bomb. They don't just drop ballots up and down Congress Street or Main Street in Yarmouth at the Clam Festival.
You're advocating? Isn't that what you're advocating?
No, mail them.
Mass mail ballots?
No, mail ballots to registered voters who can then turn them in. Sign the envelope just like you would anywhere else. That increases turnout. This is crazy. You've got the conspiracy theory going on, thinking that somehow or another we're just going to be handing ballots out as we're walking up and down the street to Canadians and Germans or whomever.
Okay, Ethan. Democrats, your party, they gathered in Wisconsin for your convention with lots of Zoom calls, recorded videos, and awkward silences that only a live broadcast produced by politicians could provide. And while Republicans will have their same challenges next week, do we think this exercise is actually worth the time and money spent?
What I would say is, look, the first night I was pretty skeptical. I watched and I said, boy, a lot of bumps here. This is not feeling very smooth. The live stuff definitely is not working. The recorded videos working pretty well. I would say by the second night, things started getting a lot better, a lot smoother. I think they really had produced it more effectively so people can get a real flavor for who Joe Biden is. On that night, it was talking about who Jill Biden is. Obviously, the nominating process all around the country went a lot smoother than I thought. But yeah, I think it should happen. I'm glad Democrats, I'm glad Republicans are doing it. It does give voters an opportunity to watch and learn, if they so choose, a little bit about the candidates. How much of a bump it will give either candidate, I think that's obviously a very different story. It's really different when you're giving a speech right into a camera as opposed to giving a speech in front of a crowd of 15, 20,000 people, like many conventions.
Yeah, I think this experiment is going to determine the fate of future conventions. I think people who are as passionate about the role of government in their lives to actually get involved in the town committee or the county committee or the state committee and then become a delegate and attend the convention. I think all of that has a unifying effect. I'm not sure it is doing that through these virtual conventions. And even you would have to agree that while there were some great speeches delivered by Michelle Obama, to pick one, versus Joe Biden, who put it in the can who knows how many days before it was actually aired, I think that disconnect is affecting people's interest in the convention process and the messages that these candidates are trying to convey to the voters. It's going to be very interesting to see that hopefully the next time we're in convention season that we will be able to gather in one place again. It'll be interesting to see how that all unfolds for the politicians.
Yeah, it will be. I think you're right. I think there will be some stuff that occurs at these conventions that they will carry over. You know, a quick note on Michelle Obama's speech that you brought up. I thought she was really remarkable for somebody who doesn't like politics. She's so good at it, and she just speaks from the heart. And I loved how she talked about empathy and how she talked about the importance of all of us understanding the shoes that other people walk in. And, you know, for those of us who have done public service, both of us together, we certainly recognize there's a role, there may not be a role, but ultimately when there is a role, it's about understanding the shoes that somebody walked in and trying to help them along in life to pursue happiness and whatever opportunities they choose.
Yeah, I thought that was a very poignant part of her presentation, but I didn't feel like she was speaking to me. I felt like she was speaking to those who want to believe that government should be doing more for them. I didn't get any empathy from her who thinks I've got enough government already. I got enough regulations already. I got enough social distancing guidelines. I get it. I don't need any more. I didn't feel any of that empathy coming from her.
You do not have enough regulation yet.
I know you think that. You do. It's shocking.
All right, Phil, a federal judge, a Trump appointee no less, has ruled that ranked choice voting is indeed constitutional. The law has now survived multiple court challenges, 2 votes by the people, and those in opposition were not able to gather the signatures to even call for a 3rd vote. Phil, is the Republican Party done fighting this thing yet? Please.
No. And here's why. Think of this, Ethan. Even you have to be impressed. The Republican Party gathered enough signatures under the social distancing guidelines, meaning you couldn't canvass neighborhoods, you couldn't knock on doors. The Republicans built a communication system all over the state of Maine that says, if you care about your opportunity to vote on ranked choice voting, come to this location at approximately this time, and we will have a ballot that you can, a petition that you can sign to get this on the ballot. They had more than enough signatures to get this on the ballot. They presented it to the Secretary of State, who rejected about, I don't want to quote because I don't know the exact number, but thousands of registered voters who signed the petition, and the petition was invalidated because of a clerical error due to the process that they had to live by in the cities and towns all over the state of Maine under the COVID virus. Yes, the Republicans are going to go to court to get a judge to determine whether the Secretary of State should allow those signatures to stand on those petitions. And if they do, we will have an opportunity as we, the people, as opposed to a judge who is appointed to decide not the constitutionality of ranked choice voting, but whether we, the people, want to have this ranked choice balloting process elect our officials.
Well, remember, we've already had that vote twice, and we, the people, have said, yes, we do want it. And you know what? I do admire folks going out, getting those signatures. It was tough during COVID for sure. There were extended deadlines to make sure people had an extra opportunity. Here in Portland, we did the same thing. We got signatures to put 5 initiatives on the ballot. We had to get 11,000 signatures in a relatively short amount of time, and we're able to do it with all the social distancing going on, and you know, good for them for working on it. But what you call technical problems, I call constitutional deficiencies. I mean, we're talking about people who were actually gathering signatures that weren't registered to vote in the town that they were gathering signatures in. That is a constitutional rule. That's not just some clerk signing off on something. And look, I'm with you. If the voter intent was clear and a clerk misses a date, I'm with you on that. And I think even the Secretary of State accepted some of those upon some of the appeals. But the Constitution's clear. You, Phil Harriman, are registered to vote in Yarmouth. You are not allowed to go get signatures in the city of Portland. And if you did, those signatures are invalid. That's what happened. The bigger issue here is, when are Republicans just going to stop fighting this thing? People have voted for it twice. They want it. Let it happen.
I think you're going to find, Ethan, calm down. I can sense your blood pressure rising. This is a procedural question that a court has been asked to answer. The answer to that will determine whether we, the Republicans, have an opportunity to appeal to our fellow citizens, regardless of party affiliation. Do you think it's fair to elect people on ranked choice voting standards or not? If the judge says, nope, the Secretary of State was within his authority to reject those, this is probably going to come to an end.
Yeah, and I think the judge will get there. But you know what? In all honesty, if Republicans want to keep spending money on this issue that Maine people have made clear they want in the law, have at it. You spent $500,000 the first time, and that one I think is going to get thrown out. If they want to do signatures again, more power to you, I suppose. But if I were in your party, I would be looking at my leadership saying, okay, folks, stop. There's bigger, more important things for us to focus on than this, which Maine people have already said they want. All right, buddy. Time to play a little Love It, Hate It, or Wake Me Up When It's Over. How you feeling today? You were yawning a little bit earlier when we were talking about the Democratic convention. So are you a little more on the nappy side, or are you a little more on the love it side?
I'm eager. I'm eager. Let's do this.
All right, buddy. President Trump is insinuating that Kamala Harris is somehow not eligible to be president, even though she was born in this country, and our Constitution is clear that being born here makes you a citizen. Phil, come on now. Tell me you hate this one. Don't let the birthers come back.
I'm not going to let the birthers come back. But what I hate about it, Ethan, is that the president didn't make that claim. He was responding and referring to someone else's opinion that was posted that he made into a conversation. I hate the fact that the media leaps on every opportunity to take his comments. This was by a third party analysis that he commented on, and they turned it into what you just described as the president is insinuating that Kamala Harris somehow is unconstitutionally unable to be the candidate. I hate it.
Yeah.
Strim, it turns out your worker-loving party standard bearer this year, Sara Gideon, does not pay her interns. Can you believe it? While Susan Collins pays all of hers. Who's exploiting the workforce now, Mr. Mayor? You loving this, hating it, or wake me up when it's over?
Yeah, I'm not liking this one. I'll tell you that for sure. Look, I'm not buying that Susan Collins doesn't have any unpaid interns. Maybe they're called something else, but you and I have been on campaigns forever, and there's always some unpaid interns, exuberant volunteers. But you know what? This is an easy one. Sara Gideon has raised a lot of money. They ought to be trying to figure out how to give everybody a stipend on that staff. I don't have any issue with that. So, yeah, this one a little bit of a bump in the road, but not going to be determinative, I don't think so. Phil, the Maine Supreme Court has ruled definitively that the CMP referenda is unconstitutional, and they have thrown it off the ballot. What say you? You loving it? You hating it? Or wake me up when it's over?
I'm actually loving it, not because the people who put the petition forward have been turned back. I'm loving it because it establishes for all citizens, all property owners in this state, that if you go through the proper regulatory channels and you receive an occupancy permit or a building permit or an environmental protection approval or any of those constitutionally required processes that individuals and entities have to go through, and the court ruled that, yes, once you've complied, it can't be taken away by a referendum petition. I love it. Mr. Mayor, A recent Press Herald fact check reports that a Senate Democrat super PAC has an ad that is fraught with hyperbole and misinformation in its attacks on Susan Collins. Strim, tell me you love it. Don't tell me you hate it. And you're certainly not going to be asleep through this one.
Well, you know how these fact check things. I mean, the whole everybody's going to be fact checked 1,000 times. Everybody stretches. Everybody's got hyperbole. But look, on the other side, everybody should be more careful. I don't like ads that are stretching people's records and not at least being honest about it. There were some questions about whether that Press Herald story was actually accurate because they misquoted some of the numbers in there. But, in an instance like this, I don't like ads that are going up that aren't very clear in terms of the truth. There's enough of Susan Collins' record that's truthful that we can talk about, that we show that you don't have to be stretching it a little bit. So, I'm hating that.
Wow. Be reasonable today.
Yeah, I don't know what's happened to me. That's a Democratic convention. My guy's up by 8-9 points. I'm feeling pretty good. Phil, the president of the United States, Donald Trump, finally pardoned the terrible injustice to Susan B. Anthony when she was fined $100 for trying to vote before the boys said it was okay. You love this? You hate it? Wake me up when it's over.
I absolutely love it. I knew the history of Susan B. Anthony. We've named a coin in her honor. I didn't know that she was arrested for voting and was fined $100. I think this is a great tribute to Susan B. Anthony. It's a recognition of the heritage of women's suffrage, and I'm glad the president pardoned her. I love it. Strim, a lawyer, get this, a lawyer in the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the law enforcement arm of our country, is pleading guilty to doctoring an email in order to secure a wiretap on one of Trump's 2 campaign officials. You love it, you hate it, or do you really want me to wake you up when it's over?
Yeah, it's hard to describe which one, but I'm glad he's pleading guilty. I'm glad they figured it out. Obviously, there is no place for that. I think they probably could have secured, classic like this, they probably could have secured the wiretap anyway, didn't need this person doctoring emails, and it really was just doctoring in terms of what the person's position was and what they had been in the FBI over time. But it doesn't take away the fact that meetings were happening and what they learned from the wiretap. But I'm a big privacy guy. You should not be doctoring documents in order to be able to get wiretaps. That is just not okay.
So proud of your reasonableness this week. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Last week, as you recall, Strim, we had our friend and colleague at News Center Maine, Rob Caldwell, on the hot seat for our segment called Nailed It or Failed It. This week, our producer extraordinaire, Schoolsy, tells us how Rob did.
All right. Schoolsy, you ready?
Yes,
All right. All right. Here are the questions from last week. Rob, this is what we asked Rob. Agree or disagree? In the next week, Joe Biden will see a 2% bump at least in his average poll numbers over President Trump. They were currently at 8.3%. After announcing his VP pick, Rob said he agrees. Jeff, did he nail it or fail it?
Failed it.
Ooh, that's not a good start.
Yeah, that's not a good start on that one for sure. Agree or disagree? President Trump will resist tweeting about the former First Lady during the 2020 Democratic Convention. Rob said, you never bet against Donald Trump and the Twitter. Did I call him a twit? You never bet against Donald Trump and Twitter. Jeff, did he nail it or fail it? Yeah, he was right on that one for sure. And, it's interesting because he, on the night I was looking at Twitter, he didn't tweet all he did was retweet something from Lindsey Graham that night that was kind of a little bit, but by the next day he was well off the wagon and tweeting away about Michelle. So third question, agree or disagree? Governor Andrew Cuomo in his opening night address will mention Trump's name at least a dozen times. Rob said, agree. Jeff, did he nail it or fail it?
Failed it.
Yeah, I failed that one. I will say, though, I don't know if you watched that speech. Cuomo said federal government well more than a dozen times, and I think that was just a synonym for Donald Trump. So if we had put those in, might have been worked. All right. Agree or disagree in the next week, Congress will pass an economic stimulus package. Rob said disagree. Jeff, did he nail it or fail it?
Nailed it.
That's a perennial one. That one just keeps going. Agree or disagree in the next week, Janet Mills will call the legislature into session over the objection of Republicans. Rob said disagree. Jeff, did he nail it or fail it?
Nailed it.
Nice job. Finally, agree or disagree with Congress out of session. Senator Angus King will be photographed somewhere in Maine on his motorcycle. Rob said agree. Jeff, did he nail it or fail it?
Failed it.
Well, that was fun. Rob
Yeah.
got 3 right and 3 wrong. He's tied with you, right?
Yeah, look at that. He can do my job just as well as I can for sure. And the whole thing with Angus, I mean, he might be in Maine, but I sent him a text. We posted it on Twitter, Facebook. We got no response. So maybe he's not in Maine. Maybe he's on vacation.
You were trying to rig the results of nailed it or failed it?
I just wanted him to know that, it's up to him whether. I was trying to help Rob out.
Yeah.
All right, Phil, you are back on the hot seat this week. You feeling ready for it?
Oh yeah. I think it's important that the viewers of Agree to Disagree see how nimble and quick we can be on some of these issues.
Yeah. You've been reading all your newspapers. You ready? You got your little projections, your Nostradamus hat. What did that thing? What was that thing that Johnny Carson used to wear? What was his character?
Yes, Karnak the Magnificent.
Karnak the Magnificent. That's you, baby. All right, here we go. All right. Agree or disagree, and a brief explanation as to why. Agree or disagree, in the next week, Donald Trump will swap out Mike Pence for Nikki Haley.
I disagree. There is no better supporter of President Trump than Mike Pence. He stands up and speaks up for the president, even when it's tough to see the words come out of his mouth. Mike Pence is not going anywhere.
Agree or disagree, Joe Biden's convention bump will be plus 2 points, expanding his lead over Trump from 8 to 10 points by the end of the week. So we're going to say by Sunday night, before the Republican convention starts, will he be up to 10-point lead?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with this. I think any convention that nominates the president, that attracts enough people to give him a little bit of a second look or a fresh look, he'll pick up 2 points.
Agree or disagree, Republicans will attack Joe Biden by name at least a dozen times on the opening night of their convention.
I agree. I think there is going to be ample opportunity for Republicans to point out that Joe Biden has been in office for 50 years. He's clearly not as sharp as he once was. He is now claiming that if we elect him president, he's already been a senator and a vice president. Somehow by making him president, all of our past problems of the last 50 years will be solved. I think they will criticize him.
Jesus, you attacked him about 12 times just in that little speech right there. That was pretty good.
Yeah, pretty easy.
All right. Agree or disagree, Republicans will average more viewers on their opening night than Democrats did on theirs, which was a little over 8.6 million. 18.6 million. So will Republicans, they will get more than 18.6 million.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's going to be a lot of curiosity and enthusiasm for the convention, especially since President Trump is going to speak live, not put it in on a video cam. I think there'll be a noticeable difference in attendance of the Republicans than the Democrat convention.
Agree or disagree, now that we have had another COVID outbreak due to a big party in Millinocket, Governor Mills will be using her executive powers to come down with new restrictions in the coming week. Agree or disagree?
I disagree. I think what we'll find is that gathering up in Millinocket had, I guess, 65 people, that there was nothing that they could have done with a regulation that would have prevented it. And I think the governor is content that things are heading in the right direction in spite of this isolated incident.
Agree or disagree, COVID will penetrate the NBA bubble and at least one player will have to be quarantined in the next week.
I'm going to agree, and I really don't have any reason other than instinct. You've got, professional athletes, aerobically breathing in each other's faces. They are definitely going to come in contact with someone that will pass on that virus. So I'll agree.
The clock has run out. The buzzer is sounding.
There it is. All right, in the books. All right, and now to our trivia wrap. Phil, as we do each week in honor of Maine's bicentennial year, we are going to ask a Maine political trivia question. Here is last week's question. When was the last year Republicans did not hold at least one of the following seats in Maine? Governor, congressperson, Speaker of the Maine House, or President of the Senate?
Now, as I recall, last week you said there was a little trick to this question.
Yeah, there was indeed. The trick was that the last time was actually the only time, and the only time was actually before your party actually existed. Since the beginning of the Republican Party, you folks have never not held one of those seats. Your party was formed, of course, as you know, a little before the year that you were born, 1854. And in 1855, Republicans elected their first representatives to Congress, the U.S. Senate, governor. I mean, all these folks. Now, some of them switched over from the Whig Party, William Pitt Fessenden, and all these guys. But basically, there has literally not been a single year in Maine history in which Republicans have not held one of those seats. Now, do you know why I inserted this question?
Oh, boy. I have a sinking suspicion it has something to do with the election this November.
Well, think about it. This November, if Democrats win against Susan Collins and everything else stays the same, this will be the first year in Maine's history that Republicans do not hold one of those seats. What do you think, buddy? Are you going to move to Canada if that happens?
Oh, no. I still believe in our Constitution, and as soon as we get a ranked choice voting, we'll have a fairer election process. I'm optimistic. Plus, I don't think I would move to a more socialist place than Maine under that scenario.
From your lips, baby, from your lips.
Okay, what's the question for this coming week?
You've got it. Go ahead. Read it to our listeners, buddy.
You ready? Okay, here's the question. When was the last year Democrats did not hold at least one of the following seats? Maine's governor, our congressperson, Speaker of the Maine House, or President of the Senate? And I'll give you a hint.
Yeah.
Let me give you a hint. You don't have to go all the way back to the founding of your party to find the date. Far from it.
My party, you mean the oldest party in the United States of America, the original party, the United States of America. Well, yes, you're right. But yeah, not quite back that far, but at least we're going to keep the streak alive. I'm sure of that. You guys are a little more on the edge of your seat, buddy. All right, Donald, tell us how we did. How'd we do?
And you are fake news. You are fake news.
See you next week, folks.
Yeah, Phil. Enjoy the weather.
You too.